topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Barry G. Fowler, EA, brings you Tax Talk for You right here on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. As an enrolled agent and a national leader in tax resolution, as well as trucker, bookkeeping, and tax planning with over 30 years of experience, Barry will break down taxes, bookkeeping, tax planning, and tax relief for individuals and businesses just like you. So let's have some Tax Talk for You with your host, Barry G. Fowler.
Good morning, America, and welcome to Tax Talk for You. Hey, I enjoy doing these shows, and sometimes you take the extra time and you prepare for these shows and you say, hey, I've got to talk about this or I've got to talk about that. It's about getting information and answering questions as well. And if you got questions, go ahead and text them in. Call in. Let's get your questions answered about solving your tax debt, solving your tax problem. Hey, something interesting I was seeing today, and brief time I had to look at some stuff because we're in the middle of tax season here. I have some tax resolution clients I'm working on and getting some solutions put in place. But one thing struck me, and I saw statistics. And, I'm a numbers guy. I like numbers. I like looking at numbers and seeing what is actually happening out there. Well, I took a look at some really crazy numbers. And what was interesting to me was people talk about, the rich needing to pay tax. I've always said when I talk at Truck to Success seminars and talking to people about taxes, bookkeeping, and tax relief is, everybody's always good with the tax as long as it's not on them, which is really true. You hear the politicians talk about, increasing taxes, but, they have ways to avoid taxes. You hear the actors talk about, wanting to increase taxes, but it's not wanting to be on them. It's always somebody else. So, when we started looking at this, you say 7.6% of tax filers pay 67.9% of taxes in the USA. And this is back from 2022. That means 7.6 of Americans making $200,000 and greater are paying 67.9% of the taxes. The next group, 100 to 200,000, which is 16% of the filers, pay the next 25%. And that leaves everybody below that paying the rest of the taxes, which isn't a huge amount of tax when you're talking that, basically 93%, 94% of the taxes are paid from 23% of Americans filing taxes. So of course, everybody is better when somebody else is paying the tax. It's one of those amazing things. Now, something else that was kind of amazing to me, got to see some of these numbers, and we kind of went back, and since I was in there and I was looking at it, and we're looking at 2022, I went back and they had statistics from 69, 70s, 80s, even into the 90s. And in the 2022 statistics, it showed there was 34,000 people that filed tax returns that made over $10 million. But if you look back to 1999 and before, they didn't have that category. So, times have changed, numbers have gone up, income has gone extremely up and through the roof. And, those people pay tax at a very high rate. Yeah, they get a lot of tax deductions. They have ways to find those tax deductions. Um, but that's what everybody's ultimate goal is to find a way to continue to reduce the amount of tax that you pay, but you want to make more money. So what you're really looking at is, what is my effective tax rate? Where's my marginal tax bracket? And how do I reduce those taxes? And that's what everybody should be looking at, is how do we go through and reduce those taxes? Trump's working on certain things to reduce taxes for everyday Americans, from trying to pass no tax on Social Security, trying to pass no tax on tips, and trying to pass no tax on overtime. And some of that will help. Some of it, may or may not help. Are they going to still tax it for Social Security and Medicare, or are they just trying to stop the federal taxes on it, the federal income taxes? I don't know the specifics behind it and what they're trying to do. It would really be nice that you've paid into Social Security. If you choose to start taking Social Security at 62, you shouldn't have a tax on it. You shouldn't have an offset for other income either. Those would be some nice things to see passed. How do we get there? It's, again, President working with Congress to pass the laws to set things straight and right for everyday Americans. And that's what we're looking forward to. Today we're talking about tax solutions and solving tax problems. We've been in this business of tax relief for many, many years, and been fighting the IRS for tax relief for the last 30 plus years, 40 years, and been very successful at it. One of the reasons we've gotten into this business was truckers. And we started working with truckers because they had quite a bit of tax problems, from non-filing to filing and owing a bunch of money, to IRS filing substitute for returns, and then owing even more money. The question comes, hey, what's a substitute for return? Well, substitute for return is when you haven't filed a tax return and the IRS files on your behalf. Hey, guess what? IRS doesn't go through your records and get you the best deal and lower the taxes. IRS takes that 1099. If you were a trucker out there and you're an owner operator working for somebody, and you're whether you're leased on or got your own authority and invoicing, whatever the case is, and you're getting 1099s, the IRS takes that 1099, puts it on Schedule C with no deductions. So if you grossed $200,000 on a 1099, you get hit with the full amount of Social Security and Medicare tax on that, up to the limits. You get hit with the full income tax on that. They're not adding kids. If you've been filing joint, they're going to put a joint return there with your wife and whatever, or husband, whichever one is out there. And if you're both owner operators and stuff, imagine the 1099s you guys get. And then you guys get hit all of that. And now you don't just have a $10,000 or $20,000 debt. You're staring down the barrel of $100,000 in tax debt, plus penalties, interest, and everything else they can throw on it. So, things like this in life is crazy that you would have to deal with this, but you've got to deal with this. Now, how do you deal with it? First, get that return prepared. Get all the returns prepared that you hadn't prepared as of yet. So that means gather your information together, get the bookkeeping done through truckertaxtools.com, and get the returns filed. Now, let's say you don't have all the bookkeeping. Maybe you have your final settlement statement, or you got a summary settlement statement. We can start with that and move forward. Get some of the expenses in there, and then find the rest of them so that you can get a return prepared with the best available information and get as many write-offs as possible on that return. Savings can be great. Now, not going to void penalties and interest. It's going to reduce penalties because you don't truly owe as much as the IRS thinks you do. It's going to reduce the interest because the interest will be recalculated based on the amount you actually owe. So we can fix those things and take the next step of moving forward with the solution. But we've got to get all those tax years filed. Now, IRS is only going to ask for about 6 years of returns. Now, if that substitute for return was from 7 or 8 years back, we're going to want to file those returns as well to get rid of the tax that the IRS is saying that you owe, that you shouldn't owe, and get it down to a real number. Now, we're going to talk more about solutions to your tax problem, but also solving some of these solutions for you, dating back further than that. And we're going to talk about returns maybe you shouldn't change after this break.
We have only scratched the surface of today's show. Please stand by as Barry G. Fowler will be right back with Tax Talk for You. If you owe the IRS or are going through an IRS audit, don't go at it alone. Call Taxation Solutions Tax Relief at 888-930-1016. We are your solution for IRS debts, audits, back taxes, garnishments, liens, and levies. Whether you're an individual or business, you need a solution and a strong, aggressive tax resolution. Don't let the IRS walk all over you. Stop the IRS now. Call 888-930-1016 or go to taxationsolutions.net now for a free, no obligation consultation. Let's get back to Tax Talk for You with more Tax Talk. Once again, here's your host, Barry G. Fowler.
Hey, welcome back. Talking about solutions to your tax problems, getting that tax relief that you deserve, you qualify for. You know, what are the options? What should we be doing? How can we help solve those issues? How can you do it yourself? We have a great podcast that we've done, which is Tax Solutions 101. You can go back and listen to that, and it's talking about solving your tax problems. But today, you know, in talking about solutions that are out there, you know, are there returns that you shouldn't fix that were done incorrectly? Or maybe somebody, you know, maybe the IRS did substitute for returns. So which returns would you fix, and which returns would you file? Which returns would you not do? Well, the IRS first is going to make sure you file the last 6 years' returns. Make sure you definitely get 2024's return done before you put any solution in place, because if you're going to owe money in 24, you're going to want to get that done. But what returns should you not fix, even if they were issues? Well, anything that's close to statute of limitations. Now, what's the statute of limitations? Statute of limitations means the IRS only has 10 years to collect the tax that is due. After that, that tax falls off. So if you filed and they accepted a return 10 years ago today, that money would fall off. So, that would be going back to a return that was filed, March 17th, 2015, and, would have been a prior year's, return. So that would have been 13's or 12's return. And that debt would then be falling off. So if maybe they did a substitute for return, maybe you've strung the IRS all around long enough that you're getting close to statute of limitations. It's a good time to continue to delay, not file that return, and let that debt fall off. There are many times we structure payment plans whereas it allows the debt to fall off over a period of time. So maybe you've got some returns that debt's falling off in, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year. These could be staggered because you were delinquent back then in filing, and now you're seeing this debt close to falling off. So putting in a partial pay installment agreement that allows this debt to fall off sometimes can be life-changing and saving you money on taxes that you owe. See, we took a client in the past couple of months, and we've looked at them, and they were a new client. We did a tax analysis of where we start. And if you call in at to Taxation Solutions, and we can set you up for a tax analysis, they're actually giving a 50% discount if you heard us here on Tax Talk for You. So call us at 888-930-1016. We'll get into doing a tax analysis to determine what you should file, what you shouldn't file, what could be the actual best solution, for you. But we took a client and we put them into a partial pay installment agreement. They paid a small amount every month. And as they were going, debt was falling off periodically. Probably saved them close to $75,000 in taxes, penalties, and interest by getting them through a period of about 9 months to where most of their tax debt fell off, and they were left with just a little bit of tax debt for the current years, which was really nice and beautiful for them. Really a savings. If they would have went into what they call as an offer in compromise, then they may have settled for a little bit less, but they would have been on the hook for 5 years. And that would not have been the ideal situation for them. And they would have probably ended up paying maybe a little bit more over a period of time. And if they defaulted in the 5 years, all that debt would have come back and they would have been back in a bad situation. So you definitely want to take a look at those things. Hey, we did have a question. I love questions when they come in. So if you got questions, feel free to text them in, call us in. We'd love to answer them. We got Frank here. Is there a penalty for going back and filing back tax returns? Well, Frank, first off, if you owe money on any return and you file and don't pay, if you file timely, they're going to hit you for failure to pay. If you file late, they're going to hit you with a penalty for non-payment, and they're going to hit you a penalty for filing late. If you have refunds, there is no penalty. However, if you're over 3 years, so that means, right now you're filing 24s, you could file 23s, file 22s, and if you have a refund, you would be able to get the money back that the IRS would refund your money. Now, going back before that, if you have refunds, the IRS keeps that money. Doesn't sound fair to you, does it? Doesn't sound fair to me. Because if you owe money, the IRS expects you to pay it outside of those 3 years. But if they owe you money, they're not going to pay you? Go figure. Who wrote the law? Oh, our congressman wrote the law. And IRS enforces it. Interesting facts. So Yes, Frank, there are penalties if you owe money going back and filing those returns, but the IRS, in order to put a solution in place, you would have to file them anyway. So get those returns filed. If you owe money, whatever year, or the IRS is sending you nasty grams saying, hey, you got to file this or file that, give Taxation Solutions a call. We can get returns filed. We can get information filed. The beautiful part, when we do tax analysis, we can also get wage and income information from the IRS to determine what you filed. You may not be able to find some of the information. We can find the information from the IRS, and we're able to get full records from the IRS of everything that's happening in your file and determine exactly what needs to be filed and what doesn't need to be filed. But that starts with that free consultation, free call at 888-930-1016. Again, 888-930-1016. Tell them you heard me here at Tax Talk for you, and they'll give you 50% off tax analysis. It's a great deal, great way to find out what you actually owe, what you need to file, and then what kind of solutions we can put in place for you, or what kind of solution you can put in place for yourself if you want to try to do it yourself. Do-it-yourselves are not always the things I recommend. There are times we will tell people, hey, it's not cost effective to use our service to solve the tax debt that you owe. And we'll give you some advice on what you need to do for yourself to get it done. But if our service is going to definitely be what you need to put the solution and save you money, we're going to be the first ones to tell you, hey, you should be jumping through the hoops with us so that we can help save you money from your tax debt and put the solutions that you need in place. And we were talking about truckers and why we got involved in helping truckers, but we also help all small businesses and individuals, mainly $10,000 or more, but there are times we help under that because their solutions need to be in place. Sometimes there's a lot of years you haven't filed. When you get those filed and it corrects some things, and then you don't owe $10,000, which is great because that is one of the solutions we can put in place that saves you money. Or maybe you went through a bad audit and didn't provide any information and the IRS just assumed everything was wrong. We can get in there and do an audit reconsideration and correct that as well. Those are some of the solutions that we've got to look at to determine, the right way to go for you. So we were talking about truckers and how we got involved with truckers. We ran into some really bad agents that all they had it out for truck drivers and owner operators out there, and actually would take vacations, and their vacation would actually be driving across the country looking for trucks to repossess. And yes, they do that. So if you have tax debt, you want to be in front of it. Same with your houses and your businesses, is you need to be in front of the IRS, in front of your problem to stop the IRS before you lose everything. And we're going to talk a little bit more about different types of solutions that you can put in place and some of the reasons small businesses get into tax trouble as well right after this break.
We have only scratched the surface of today's show. Please stand by, as Barry G. Fowler will be right back with Tax Talk for you. As an owner-operator, you already spend too much time away from your family. Trucker Tax Tools handles all your bookkeeping and taxes no matter what level trucker you are. Life on the road can be taxing, but that doesn't mean that your wallet or time with your family should suffer. Trucker Tax Tools makes your life run smoothly. Go to truckertaxtools.com for a free guide that will give you the tools to never worry about your taxes again. Call Trucker Tax Tools at 877-966-2700. 62477 or go to truckertaxtools.com now and let the experts keep you trucking. Let's get back to Tax Talk for You with more Tax Talk. Once again, here's your host, Barry G. Fowler.
Hey, welcome back. We're going to start you off with a great question and from Eric here. We actually met Eric at the inaugural Moonshine Festival, Louisiana Moonshine Festival out in Leesville, Louisiana the other weekend. His question was, do you help small businesses with tax problems dealing with payroll taxes? Ooh, yes, we do. Payroll taxes are one of those big issues out there. If you're not making your payroll tax payments and paying your payroll taxes in, then you've got some major issues. And if you've paid absolutely zero of those taxes, you can also be hit as a business owner or business manager. If you're signing checks and have authority to sign checks, you can be hit with these penalties, which is the civil penalties for not paying the payroll taxes in. And matter of fact, not only we deal with the business owners, but sometimes the manager or senior executives of a company can get hit with those civil penalties for the trust funds taxes that were not paid in. Now, the trust fund tax itself is the portion of tax you withheld from your employee's check and did not remit to the federal government. So you don't get hit with trust funds for the taxes that the company matches for Social Security and Medicare. You're only going to get hit for Social Security and Medicare and federal tax that you withheld from your employee's check and didn't remit to the federal government. Those are major, major issues, and you definitely want somebody to be in front of these problems. These are ones the tax will not going to go away. The IRS is going to keep coming after you to collect this tax. And they make it a priority to collect these taxes, and they don't fool around about them. We were dealing with a company here recently who didn't pay their payroll taxes for a number of years, and the IRS was all over them, about to hit them with trust fund penalties for each of the owners and one of the managers that was signing on the check as well. And they were getting close to getting signature cards, which they would have found out that there was another family member who was fairly wealthy that could have paid it all. So definitely need to jump in front of this to head this off. And we were able to get the company to pay the trust fund penalty, or trust fund part of the tax, so that they didn't get hit with the trust fund penalty, which saved the two innocent parties, the manager and the one wealthy family member who happened to be a signer on the account. We don't know why. They didn't own any of the business, weren't involved in the business, but I think it was an emergency type situation when the two owners were out of town. And then put together a payment plan to start paying those taxes back. It's pretty hefty payment plan, but they're making good money and hadn't paid in quite a bit of payroll taxes, and we're talking high six figures. So things are crazy out there, but some of this stuff happened, and we understand happened. And inflation sometimes drives that bottom line and reduces the amount of money that's available, and you're still trying to pay your employees, which is most important to you. And one of the easiest places to not pay was your payroll taxes. But those are sometimes the most important. Best thing to do is set those up to pay with every single payroll. Now, it makes it a little complicated sometimes cash flow wise, But that is what you really need to do and make sure that you don't get into those problems. But if you got those problems, hey, give us a call at Taxation Solutions Tax Relief, 888-930-1016. Again, 888-930-1016, or go to taxationsolutions.net. Free consultation. We don't charge you anything just to talk to you. But, hey, if you want to move forward, you want to do a tax analysis, again, we're offering 50% off. Give us a call. Let us move forward from there. And talking about solutions, there are solutions to your payroll taxes. There are solutions to, your audits that gone wrong. There's solutions to the money that you owe the IRS. Everything does have its solution. Everything, sometimes the solutions aren't what you like. Sometimes those solutions aren't the most ideal in your line of work or what you're seeing from other people. Sometimes the solution that you want isn't the solution you're going to be able to get. I know that's hard. It's a hard pill to swallow, especially when you hear the ads, everybody qualifies, or fresh start, or you can get an offer in compromise, maybe. Did you hear that? They slipped that in. Potential. Maybe. Those are the two words that they use while they're talking to you on the phone. Because they don't want to be committed to getting you the solution of an offer in compromise. Because not everybody does qualify. You may make too much money. Even if you're living paycheck to paycheck, even if it doesn't seem like you have as much money as you think you do. See, the IRS has things called national standards. And those national standards isn't always what you pay for your mortgage. It's what the IRS says this is the average mortgage in your region, in your city or zip code. This is what cost of living is. Providing food, insurance, car payments. They have national standards for everything. And, maybe your mortgage is $1,000 above what the national standard is. The IRS doesn't care. They just don't care, especially when you're trying to qualify for an offer in compromise. So if you make too much money, then you're not going to qualify. If the tax debt is yours and you just got married and you're living together and have one household, guess what? Her income absorbs half the expenses, or actually pro rata, based on what you make or what she makes, whatever the ratio is there. He or she has to absorb that portion of expenses. So, if you have tax debt, solve your tax debt problem first. If you're going to get married and you have tax debt, get a solution put in place so that you can have a better solution today than what you may have once you get married. I had a client, interesting enough, we were working on an offer in compromise with him, sent him all the paperwork, came back and goes, I got married 6 months ago. What? You didn't tell us. Well, she's not responsible for this tax debt. Well, we understand that. But what she is responsible for is her fair share of the household expenses. But the house isn't in her name. We understand that. It's still a household. And you're still living together. You have joint expenses. And therefore she pays her fair share based on her income coming in. Communication. Talk. Let us know what's going on. This is where you can put the right solution in place. Now, you may qualify for that offer in compromise. That's fantastic. offering compromise settles for less than what you owe, but comes with that 5-year period of compliance. Meaning you got to stay 100% in compliance. If you owe estimated tax payments, pay them quarterly. Or pay them monthly if you can't manage it on a quarterly basis. Make sure you file your returns on time. What happens if you don't? Anywhere in that 5-year period from when that offer is accepted. So that, you start having to be in compliance from the day you file that offer through 5 years after it's accepted. So anytime in that 5-year period after it's accepted, you don't file a return on time, IRS can kick that offer out. Great example. Had a client miss the deadline, owed money. Guess what? He missed it by 20 days. And he was only 60 days from 100% 5-year compliance. All the debt came flowing back. Hey, you can't settle with, not sure you can do an offer in compromise. What are your options? Let's talk about it right after this break.
We have only scratched the surface of today's show. Please stand by as Barry G. Fowler will be right back with Tax Talk for You. As an owner-operator, you already spend too much time away from your family. Stop spending time doing paperwork. Go to truckertaxtools.com, a solution built specifically for truckers. Truckertaxtools.com makes your life run smoothly. Let's get back to Tax Talk for You with more Tax Talk. Once again, here's your host, Barry G. Fowler.
Hey, welcome back. I love that ad that we do for Trucker Tax Tools. Trucker Tax Tools right now, we're offering a fantastic deal for truckers, owner-operators out there. We have a base bookkeeping plan for you. If you're an owner operator out there, you need bookkeeping. You need to know somebody that knows the ins and outs of bookkeeping and taxes for truckers, which is what Trucker Tax Tools and I do. I speak at Truck to Success, done by Owner Operators Independent Drivers Association. And, we do this for truckers all the time, but $25 a week for your bookkeeping. Man, you can't beat that anywhere that's out there. Give Trucker Tax Tools a call. Go to truckertaxtools.com, fill out one of our Contact Me Now pages, and we'll be in touch with you right away. But while this offer is out there, let Trucker Tax Tools get your life running smoothly. Get you into a plan that can help you get your life back when you're at home. So you spend more time with your family, less time doing paperwork, less time doing the other things that you're doing that you should be spending with the family. So go to truckertaxtools.com, make your life as easy as possible. We're talking about other offers out there and, what can you do to solve your tax problem? There are partial pay installment agreements. There's just an installment agreement. There's non-collectible status. So what's the difference? What's the best for you? It really depends on your situation. Hey, you know what? I forgot to give you the number of the Trucker Tax Tools. Go to 877-996-2477. Again, 877-996-2477. Let us put a great bookkeeping plan in place. $25 a week for the basic bookkeeping is where we start from, but give them a call. Hey, so kind of what we're looking at here is what's the right solution. So offering compromise, you might have trouble staying in compliance. So what are my other options? Well, if you're not making enough money, maybe you're on Social Security, or maybe the income just isn't coming in yet. Maybe the statute of limitations is going to run out shortly. So you just need a short-term fix. That could be non-collectible, meaning you don't have enough money to pay the IRS at all, and the IRS will put you in this non-collectible status. It gives you a period of time. Now, most likely about 2 years, they're going to come back in and review it. But if you see a huge increase in income, the IRS is going to come back a little bit quicker and review this and try to set you up in a payment plan or collect all the money. So it's one of the things we've got to discuss, where you're at. If you're just on Social Security, net income's not going to change. Hey, non-collectible status is probably ideal. And let the debt run out over whatever the statute of limitations is left. And if you have no other assets out there, then there's not going to be inheritance we got to worry about or anything else. Or maybe there is some assets out there and you don't want to touch them because it's maybe wrapped up in equity in the house and you can't afford to move or do anything else. So, maybe non-collectible is good and we can get to the statute of limitations and a lot of the debt will fall off. Maybe it's a partial pay installment agreement, meaning you have just enough money to make some payment to the IRS, but you have other assets that you want to still protect. And we can possibly get that partial pay installment agreement where you pay less than the full amount due over a period of time. And you still get a good chunk of change that drops off over that period of time. Or if it's set up such that you're paying a low amount every month and debt continues to fall off. So we took a client that could only afford $150 a month per the IRS. Now, when we were going to do the offering compromise was going to be a lot more, meaning that the IRS was determining they could almost pay half of their debt back based on income and expenses that they would allow. But we turned it around and put them into a partial pay installment agreement. Now, they were paying this $150 a month for 4 years. That seems really kind of tough, making this payment. Made sure it was direct debit so that the plan would not go awry. They wouldn't miss a payment. They paid this amount, $150 a month. That's $1,800 a year in 4 years. So that was $7,200. But in those 4 years, $65,000 got written off for statute of limitations. That is still a really good deal. Their offering compromise alone, before the IRS would get involved and say, hey, they had other assets to be able to pay, was going to be close to $5,000 up front. So $2,200 more. They got it paid off in 4 years. Debt fell off. They didn't have to worry about compliance. And they got the benefit of keeping their money or not borrowing money to make this payment. Now, we've looked at other solutions. We had a insurance agent who was making pretty good money. We were able to change the way and the structure of their business and lower what ability he had to pay, get him an offering compromise. Now, this seems like a lot of money. Offering compromise was for $125,000, but he owed $375,000. So a $250,000 savings. But this offer had to be paid in full in 6 months. So we helped him arrange a new mortgage on his house, get the money, pay the IRS off for the offer amount within the 6 months of acceptance of the offer. he is now free and clear of the other $250,000 as long as he stays in compliance for the next 4 years. And that's his job, is to stay in compliance so that this debt that he saved by taking the mortgage on the house is well worth what he's doing. And the interest rates on the mortgage was much cheaper than the interest he was going to be paying to the IRS. So which solution's right for you? Hey, I tell you to give us a call. Give Taxation Solutions a call. Mention your area here. Get the 50% off of the tax analysis. Call it 888-930-1016. Again, 888-930-1016. Toll-free call, free consultation. Let us talk about what the tax problem is. We can give you some ideas of what we're looking at or thinking about solution. What we ask you to do is answer the questions honestly, because he'll go through questions with you. How much are you making? What is the equity in your house? What do you have in your IRAs, 401ks, other investments, other investment property? Hey, be upfront. Be honest. Because guess what? Even if you lie to us and we file an offer in compromise, the IRS is going to find it. IRS doesn't take offers and compromises very easily. IRS does a full check of you, property records, investments, 401ks, IRAs, any place that you have money, the IRS is going to track it down and say, hey, what about this? This can be used to help pay your tax debt. This can be used to pay off the government. See, you hear about all these great stories about Fresh Start. I hear them on the ads and everything else, and I laugh because I look at the Fresh Start program as fresh money to the IRS. That's their Fresh Start. Get as much money out of you and I as possible for the dollars that is owed. And that is the Fresh Start. I promised I was going to talk about audits, and audits gone bad. We only have a couple minutes left. I'm going to be really quick and really brief. You've gone through an audit. You didn't give them any information, or you only gave them half the information, or you didn't know how to compile the information. You didn't want to pay somebody else to help you with your audit. Now you owe 50, 100, 500,000 because the IRS imputed tax, fraud penalties, you name it, they put on it, interest and everything else. But you didn't get them any support. Well, now it's time to come Taxation Solutions, and let's do an audit reconsideration. We did an audit reconsideration a couple of years ago that went back 5 years to this audit that they never provided support. We won. We saved them close to $1 million in taxes, penalties, and interest, because we were able to provide the support and the information required and ask the IRS to reconsider this tax debt that these people should not have owed. And hey, sometimes that can be done for you. If you're going through the audit, I suggest you get help, whether it's at taxationsolutions.net, our tax relief, or whether it is somebody else, get help with your audit. You don't want to lose and then owe money. You need somebody to help you through this audit. And, feel free, give us a call, 888-930-1016. Let us help you. You're looking for solutions. We got some great podcasts at Tax Talk for You. If you go to taxtalkforyou.com, you can subscribe there. You can get to all of our old podcasts. You can go to iHeart, Spotify. You pretty much name it. We're there with the podcast for Tax Talk for You, helping you find ways to save money on your taxes, get you better bookkeeping, get you solutions in place for money owed. But that's where it starts. And be here every Monday, 10 a.m. at Tax Talk for You, W4CY Radio. If you're on YouTube, hey, join us there. Click like and share at Tax Talk for You on Facebook as well. Again, every Monday, 10 a.m. right here on W4CY Radio. We'll see you next week.
Are you an individual or business that wants to understand taxes and how they affect you? Are you looking for specific tax advice for self-employed, business owners, and truckers? Are you behind on taxes and your bookkeeping? Are you dealing with the IRS and ready to have some relief? Then you need Tax Talk for You, hosted by tax and trucker expert Barry G. Fowler, EA. Tune in 10 a.m. Eastern Time every Monday right here on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Don't forget to check this and past episodes at taxtalkforyou.com. See you next week at W4CY.com.